All right, friends, we're back. Your favorite podcast of the week. It's Location Weekly. It's episode number 632, and we're recording on August the 7th. Brianna, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's actually a holiday here in Canada today on this Monday. I'm fitting this into a busy schedule of nothing. So I'm doing well. And my Blue Jays swept the Red Sox in Fenway this last week, so that was good. Uh, did you hear about this rookie that they brought up?
No, please
So they
share
brought
a
they
little.
brought up a rookie because they've been nobody has been hitting on the team, and they brought up this kid Davis Schneider from AAA, and he's basically set the major league record for the most hits ever in 3 games, for first time, in the league. Like, insane. His very first at bat, he gets up to the plate, his first at bat, and hits a home run.
Love those stories. Those
One
are
of
fun.
those stories, just crazy. So yeah, I think he's had 9 hits in 3 games.
Oh my gosh, that's
Like,
amazing. Good
yeah.
for him.
Yeah. So puts pressure on the rest of the team to actually start performing again. But anyway,
Right.
whatever. We're not here to talk about baseball. What else is going on with you?
Nothing, just like we're kind of in that weird end of summer winding down phase. So we've got one more trip planned to the South, gonna go see Atlanta for a few days, go see a couple Braves games, spend some time with my family and maybe some friends. And that's kind of it, it's like we're in that phase of the kids finished camp now, and now we're like juggling for the next little bit. So that's always fun. But, I think like industry wide, it is just a crazy time. There's so much changes that are happening. So, we're just like sitting on the edge of our seats waiting for what's going to happen next here. But yeah, everything is going well. I can't complain. It's been a good, fun summer, and just gonna keep moving forward. What else can we do, right?
Yeah. Well, and then speaking of Atlanta, so we just announced our next retail loco conference, which will be back in Atlanta, and it's November 1st and 2nd this time around. And so that's happening in partnership with Simon Malls and Nobu Hotels. At Phipps Plaza. So we're excited about that. Looking for speakers and sponsors and all of the fun stuff we normally do. So if you have ideas about that, reach out to us as well. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, let's jump into the show. 4 stories as usual. You have the first one to kick it off.
I do. So there is a UK based, it's called a location control app. And the name of this is LocaChange. It's very descriptive of exactly what it does. So it's really like purpose, as they define it, is to empower users worldwide with unparalleled control over their location data. So they're suggesting that privacy and security really lie at the heart of their mission. And there's a few key use cases or features that you can do with this app. So I would say one is that you can play location-based games from anywhere. So think of Pokemon Go. You don't necessarily need to go specifically to where, like the park that has whatever Pokemon interaction that's set up there. You can do this from anywhere now by changing your location to wherever it is that you want to go. Another is being able to change your location, perhaps on social media or even other platforms like dating apps. Think Tinder. Maybe you want to explore what does the dating pool look like in other cities before you go. And then the third is being able to hide your location. And this is both on iOS and Android platforms. So, they're really trying to suggest that they're elevating these, user experiences. I find this very interesting. I can see why this would get mass adoption. It's almost like, a VPN, but for your location, in essence, that you can download, I'm sure, and pay for. However, I do find that in suggesting that you can have like this elevated consumer experience when you're playing Pokemon Go without having to get up off your sofa and go. I think that it kind of defeats the purpose of like why that was set up the way that the game was set up. And I can't imagine that, Tinder or any other platform that utilizes location for their specific reasons is going to be thrilled about the fact that people can like mask, their locations as well. I do like that it gives you that privacy and security feature. I mean, specifically from some of these big giants that we all question, like, hey, do they really have my data and privacy as a concern? And I think the answer is no. Like they need that data in order to feed their advertising and in order to make money. So I think that from that aspect, this is a great value proposition. Now, I could not find a ton about LocaChange. I did a little digging. I couldn't find anybody on LinkedIn that works at the company. Apparently, it's from the UK. There's no like about us page, on their site. So, show yourselves, guys. Like, who are you? We want to know. We'd love to talk to you and hear more about this. And maybe hear some of like the other unique use cases where people are using this for the good. And, and what happens with the location data that you do capture, and those who are changing it, like, where does that go? They ensure that it is like, in this black box, but I would love to learn a little bit more about this company. What do you think?
Yeah. I think from a service point of view, I think it's valuable. I think there are a lot of use cases for this type of technology. We talked about something similar a few weeks ago in terms of, search results and those kinds of things. I think too, like if you think about it in the context of country-based app stores and those kinds of things, there's some interesting applications there, or streaming services as well, right? So I think there's a lot of potential for this. But yeah, I mean, I wish they would tell us more about who they are and what they're doing and where they're coming from. So hopefully, more will be said in the coming months about what LocaChange is all about. But from a service point of view, I think there's value there for sure, and I could see adoption. So it's all about marketing, right? How do they get it out there? So there you go. All right, jumping on to our second story now. So similar kind of name, but this one's called LocaLogic. And this is a Canadian company out of Montreal, and they've raised $13 million in their latest Series B round, led by Groundbreak Ventures, Investissement Québec, which is the government, and then a bunch of other previous investors, Band Capital, TrioVest Realty Investors, Cycle Capital, Desjardins Group, and a few others. It goes on. And so they're all about creating digital twins of every city in North America, and then using that to layer into predictive analytics and site selection and these kinds of things in the real estate sector. So they have partnerships with broker sites and the MLS organizations, both in the US and Canada. So they're kind of focused on that prop tech space and applications around that. They say that their insights are used across 217 trillion real estate market transactions. They say that they have over 15 million monthly users on their system. And in total now, with this 13 million plus the previous funding, they've raised $19 million so far. So, seems like a serious player in the space. They also claim that they have 85 billion unique data points, making it the largest unique location data set in the US and Canada on as far as digital twinning of cities. So interesting. That's a serious amount of capital. So, hopefully they're investing in pushing this out further with sales and marketing and other tech related investments. I think the real estate site selection space is not new by any means. Obviously, we're very familiar with guys like Esri and Pitney Bowes back in the day, and others who've, sort of pioneered this space. But, certainly I would say there's been a lot of startups coming in the last 5 years or so. I think there's a lot of innovation happening in this space. I think, the idea of digital twinning and how, sort of AR and VR and layering, on top of that, is happening now, I think makes it even more interesting. And obviously these guys are, well positioned to take advantage of that. Any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that they're raising this amount of money. Like you said, this is not a new space, but the amount of data points that they have, I'd love to know more details, like about what are all the data fields, like what are they capturing? Is it point of interest? Is it movement data? Like what all is it? And I think that there's been so much change in real estate and how the costs, or like who's doing what, whether it's renting versus buying right now, the interest rates are insane, right? So I think being able to have a tool that can be utilized for probably a lot of like corporations or even investment planning is something that is needed if it's more accurate and helping with predictability. So I can see that there is like, this is a timely investment for them. But like you said, what's the differentiator? And I think that's what we'll have to kind of pay attention to.
There you go. All right.
All right. So let's go to the Met. All right. This is actually a really fun story. I like this a lot. And, Roblox has been like around for a while. My oldest is starting to like have interest in that as well. And now you can kind of get these new AR experiences on Roblox brought to us by Verizon, but from the Met. So this is really cool because, the Metropolitan Museum of Art here in New York, they have teamed up to have this like AR experience. So visitors can bring elements of their collection into their home, in essence, via Roblox, right? So this started on the 3rd of August, and you can download this free app. It's called Replica. And then it accesses this map. So you can have like all these various items within the museum that you can find. And then you scan them with your mobile device, and they turn into this digital collective that can be transferred to Roblox as an accessory item or like an avatar thing. So it's really cool because you can also explore the virtual version of the Met's facade. And then there's some other immersive experiences that are, around AR for sure, and educational, experiences as well. And I think they're utilizing this to say, like, how can we engage with this next wave of consumers who tend to be traditionally digital? I would assume that museum visitors skew to an older demographic. And so how do they make this relevant and exciting and interesting to that younger age group? So I think this is a really interesting way of doing that. And, each digital wearable that you can get through Replica is from the Met's collection of, they have 1.5 million objects there, which is crazy, but there's 37 pieces of artwork that were chosen. Two of the examples they gave were really, the Japanese suit of armor. And I know I've seen pictures of it before. I'm sure many of you have as well. That's from like the early 14th, 15th century. And then Vincent van Gogh's straw hat that's inspired his self-portrait with his straw hat piece, which is really cool. It's one of my favorite artists to look at. So I definitely want to go experience this. Maybe this will kind of kick off the Roblox thing. I would love to take my kids. Honestly, I'd love to go to the Met alone as well. So maybe I can just bring it back for them. But I think this is really fun. I love the idea that they're really trying to bring together like art and this like youth culture, and how do they tie these together? And I think it's super fun. So I like it.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's brilliant. It's not the first collaboration between the Met and Verizon. They previously did back in 2021 a project called Unframed for 5 weeks, which was a digital sort of gamification play as well, using AR. But this to me is brilliant because it hits on all the key things that you talked about. How do we get a younger digital native audience into the Met, exploring that collection, and bringing it to, where young people are spending time, which is Roblox. I think the combination is, just makes a ton of sense. And it leverages kind of what's hot right now, which is that sort of, how do we blend the physical world with the virtual world and bring those things sort of together and closer, and interwoven. And I really like this a lot. I think, and then, I don't know what the process was that they went through to choose those 37 items, but I'm sure they're the ones that are like, sort of well known and, sort of, we've seen photographs of, or, we've seen featured in magazine articles and these kinds of things. But, the idea of like, hey, there's this Japanese suit of armor that I just saw in the Met, and now I can wear that on my avatar in Roblox. That's kind of fun, right? Like, I think it's interesting, and I could see a lot of adoption on this. Obviously, you have to be, visiting New York to participate in this, but good on them. And, I look forward to hearing your experience. Maybe we can have a follow-up on this, Brianna, when you're, once you've tried it out and you've been there with or without your kids. Let's see.
For sure.
Yeah, but super fun. Okay. Final story now. We're going to jump into the retail space. And we've talked a lot in the last number of months about computer vision technology in retail. But here we have a partnership between a company called Acosta Group, which is a sales and marketing agency, and Pensa Systems, that's Pensa, and they make digital shelf inventory management solutions. And so they partner with a number of CPG brands and retailers, and this kind of idea of using computer vision technology to monitor what's happening on the shelf and what inventory levels look like. This is something that, we've heard a lot about lately. And I think there are a lot of good solutions out there in the marketplace, but one of the things that kind of stood out for me about this one is that the process that they go through to capture what's on the shelf is very, very fast and very, very accurate. And so they say they can scan an entire aisle with a handheld device in less than 17 seconds. So that's pretty cool. And they're not looking to just pick out, that particular CPG's products and monitoring that. They scan the entire shelf. They track everything, competitive products, all this kind of stuff. And it's a continuous, sort of process of monitoring the actual shelf conditions. So it analyzes hundreds of images, each individual product on the shelf. It creates a 3D digital reconstruction of, what's happening on the shelf. And then, obviously that information can then be relayed to planogramming systems or other things for the manufacturer to keep a full reference library. So there's a lot going on here, but I think the key to all of this is the speed at which you can, scan, a shelf to create the initial reference and so on. And then, how it maintains and updates in real time what's going on there. So I like this. I think there's a lot of power in these types of systems. And I think, we've all seen, especially going through COVID and all of that kind of stuff, how important it is, to make sure that you have accurate inventory levels and, what's out of stock right now. And, how do we send the order for replenishment and all these kinds of things that these kinds of technologies can automatically feed into and take the manual process out of that. So, I don't know where these guys sit relative to the other players in terms of funding and customer base and those kinds of things. But from a technology point of view, I like it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that the ease of use and like the speed of which it can happen and that capture phase is like really important, because if you think about who's working the day to day in a lot of like supermarkets or retail stores, you're not going to have somebody who's like a data scientist or understand how to do something that could be complicated, right? Like that you don't want to teach more systems. So I think the ability to just have that like captured quickly, easily on a regular routine basis is really powerful. And I like the idea that they tout how they could utilize this technology for like pricing strategies, right? We're seeing a lot of price changes, whether that's on eggs or milk or whatever these days. So I think that being able to effectively like drive, have those fluctuate, as needed and near real time than happens today, is a real value add for these stores. So I like it.
Yeah, there you go. So that's our 4 stories for this week. You've been listening and watching episode number 632 of Location Weekly. Thank you so much for your time. If you have feedback, we'd love to hear about it. If you have story ideas, please reach out to us for sure and let us know. A reminder again, Retail Local will be back in Atlanta November 1st and 2nd. We're still looking for speakers, sponsors, and all of that. So reach out to us about that as well. And we'll see you next week with another show. Have a great week, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Bye.